Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 227, being recorded on November the 14th, 2012. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
It was a rather, I would say, I guess it's not true to say it was a short week. It was maybe short on release of content. Yeah.
Sparse week.
Yeah.
So this may be a quicker than normal podcast. We actually didn't have a whole lot of reviews and articles even really go up. Everybody was trying to meet their podcast deadlines, and apparently a couple of everybody missed. A couple of everybody.
Namely, me.
Well, and not just
And
you.
maybe
I would
Alan.
do something.
I don't know.
Probably Alan, for sure.
Alan hates SSD raids.
Alan, make excuse.
Alan hates SSD raids when the drives are 800 gig.
Well, I hate raids in general, and
They hate you too.
they do.
It's
They
like,
do.
build raid. Wait an hour.
Yeah. Just do RAID 0. That's all why I only do that one. It's easier to test that way. So let's get into whatever stuff we did actually do this week. I was out of town for the majority of the weekend and everything, so my content got cut back as well. Luckily, we had a couple of articles go up. One from Maury, who is our new motherboard guy. And despite Josh's inclinations to believe otherwise, the title of this project does not indicate anything about its sexual preferences. This is the ECS.
It's the Golden Shower board. Yes.
Yep.
Close. It is the ECS Golden Board Z77H2AX Z77 motherboard, as you might guess from the nomenclature there. And as you can see, it has gold on it.
Sprinkled about.
See all,
Sprinkled. It's liberally poured.
even the
backplate.
socket, even the
Look at the backplate.
oh wait, where's that at? Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, that's a good shot right there.
Did Ken Jeong design this?
We must make the most beautiful motherboard the world has ever seen.
And then the next one will probably be like the gold-plated, gun. What was it, the gun heatsink one?
Yes.
Oh, that was Gigabyte.
Gigabyte?
Yeah.
Next it'll be like the pimpin' gun version.
Right.
It'll have like the gold-plated
that
knives.
could work. That could work.
No, ECS will get into heatsink so that you can get a nice gold and diamond heatsink to match the board.
Yeah.
In terms of features of this board, to be completely honest, we've had this board for way too long before we actually sent it to Maury to review it. He turned it around relatively quickly. It has decent feature set. It doesn't have Thunderbolt or anything like that, but in terms of, it's got USB 3, it's got eSATA, lots of USB ports, it's got Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well. Obviously, supports all the Ivy Bridge processors out there. In terms of display output, it only has VGA and HDMI, it looks like. So no display port or anything like that. And of course, if we go look at some of the pictures, you will see that it has all kinds of gold on it. Interestingly, the series that this falls under is the Black Extreme, despite the fact that it is gold. And even the back plate for the socket is gold as well. Like they definitely.
They're OG over gold.
Yep.
It does have an mSATA port on it, so you can put an mSATA SSD in there if you want to. It's actually not a bad motherboard. If you're interested in Z77 board reviews, I mean this has a lot of cool stuff in it. The downside that we had was that it had good features, had decent performance. I mean, performance in terms of almost all motherboards acting very close to the same. But it didn't do very well on the overclocking side of things, which is really one of the main spots where motherboards have to differentiate from each other. It has a click BIOS. It's not a very pretty implementation of it. It has, UEFI. It does have this cool circuit background, right? Everybody can dig that.
But it's not gold.
You're right. They should have made that, instead of blue, they should have made it gold. Lots of options in there, but it doesn't do you very good if the overclocking capability on it is minimal to none. If we actually look at the overclocking results page, you'll see their software, where apparently the temperature was negative 69 Pecky. I'm going to go with that. Negative, obviously misrepresenting the results there. Software's fairly standard. I mean, I think he actually just didn't want to overclock really with that 3570K. That's an unlocked part. And he said no matter how much voltage he put through it or how little he tweaked the settings, he could not get the board to boot at better than stock CPU settings. That's about as bad as overclocking as it gets.
Can get.
Yeah. I guess it could be worse where it wouldn't boot until you underclocked it or something.
And ECS has been around forever.
Yeah.
But their reputation is
Well deserved.
marginal. Yes.
I mean, they're
Yes.
a huge company, but they're mainly doing OEM style stuff. So as the lowest cost products available. They also make a lot of boards. Didn't ECS make the EVGA boards a while ago? I don't think they do anymore. But they used to make, I think, the first round of EVGA motherboards. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody did.
I used to own a ECS Group Rendition V2100 card.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just in everything.
Yeah, they are.
That was 15 years ago.
And they still make graphics cards. They just don't have a big retail presence. And even in the U.S., even with motherboards like this, where what they're obviously trying to do is get some kind of retail presence, some kind of consumer presence by adding flashy gold coloring to it, which actually looks pretty nice. We've had this board in here for a while. I remember even the box for it is like an obnoxious spray paint gold color. Like it's definitely going to stand out on a shelf if you go to a Fry's or a Micro Center like that, if they actually have it. But it just didn't live up to whatever expectations we may or may not have had for the product. So if you want to check it out, go read the review, see why we did or did not approve of many aspects of it. Speaking of people who wrote reviews that aren't on the podcast, Chris wrote another networking review, follow-up from the ASUS series that we went into before, this time of the Amped Wireless, and I feel the appropriately named R20000G router, if we switch to
20,000?
Yeah, that's the R20000G router and the UA2000 adapter, and those numbers are awesome for model numbers. So the whole idea here, as you can see on the labels for the box, the idea is it's supposed to be high-powered units, right? So they say that the premium dual-band wireless coverage is 10,000 square feet. I don't know what that compares to normally, and they're saying 3 times the range with their USB wireless in adapter. It doesn't. I mean, it's got. The idea is that it's a higher-powered router. Other than that, it has the same features: 802.11 ABGN. They're claiming 300 megabit data rates, simultaneous on the 5 and 2.4 gigahertz. And then I guess this is the difference, right? 600 milliwatt Wi-Fi amplifiers. I don't know what's standard. Does anybody know kind of what a normal amplifier rate would be? But
I thought half a watt is pretty standard for most things, and handhelds are like what, 300 milliwatt?
I don't know.
I'm looking.
Well, they are
looking mine
cranking it up more and more as we get noisier and noisier, at least as far as electronic in the background goes.
Where is that? Wireless.
Ken says he thinks adapters are like 50 or 60 milliwatts, but I don't know about the routers. The antennas are high gain, 5 dBi, that kind of stuff. Read the review. It's a really well written review. He goes over the kind of the back end, the software side of things, what features are in the control panels that you can access, guest networks, configuring different SSIDs and all that kind of stuff that you'll have access to. It's always good to compare to see how these all compare to like the ASUS models that we've looked at previously, and that we're going to continue to look at as we do some more reviews. But what is more maybe telling, and what kind of goes with the target of this particular notebook, is let's look at normal use test and torture test. Now, the idea would be in the torture test, where we have the longest distance between the router and the adapter, that you would see better connectivity, better speeds than you would with say, other adapters or other routers. So let's look at, there's Airport Extreme. We don't want to use that. Let's look at, here we go, Amped Wireless, normal use test, 5 gigahertz. And then here you can see in this graph that Amped Wireless router paired with the Centrino adapter, paired with the USB N66, paired with the UA 2000 and the UA 2000 or 1 or 2 plug iterations of it. And you can see it's actually the slowest of the three, which is not good. Upload speeds, it's the slowest as well. Well, maybe with 1 plug it's a little bit faster than the Centrino. So it didn't live up to its claims of being higher performance, longer, wider range, and that kind of stuff. In fact, if we look at the torture test, which is kind of like Chris's worst case scenario in terms of placement in the house for router and adapter device, you'll see that. Let's just kind of go down to the amped wireless things. Here you go. So here's the amped wireless. The only one that actually made a connection in this case was the Asus USB N66 on the torture test, right? So even Amped's own router didn't pair with their own adapter to get you any better performance, right? And here's 2.4 gigahertz. It does connect, which the Intel Centrino Ultimate N6300 controller did not, but it still falls behind the Asus device there. So a decent router in terms of what you would expect from just a wireless in device, but it definitely didn't live up to its claim of being higher power, wider range, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on high-powered routers and that kind of stuff? I don't know. Alan, sounds like something you would have had experience with.
Usually, if you try to go up on the power, it just gets noisy unless it's a really good radio. That's what the problem.
What would the noise? What would the noise actually do? Just lower your transfer speeds?
Yeah, everything just gets worse. It's the same thing as if you were just further away.
Sweet.
Or the same thing as if you had something else interfering, right? So it's like, you crank your stereo all the way up, everything starts distorting. Same kind of deal.
Gotcha. We'll talk a little bit more. Actually, let's go ahead and I'm gonna sneak this in here since we didn't have a whole lot of articles to talk about. There was an interesting report that came out. It actually came out in April, but I just got notified about it today. So apparently Intel released a white paper in April of this year about USB 3.0 radio frequency interference and its impact on 2.4 gigahertz wireless devices. And I haven't had a chance to really dive into it a whole bunch, but it's probably a pretty important issue if Intel's kind of publicly releasing white papers about it. So where's...
Well, if you scroll far down it, they start actually taking a look at shielding both the actual drive itself, because for the most part they're doing USB 3 hard drive peripherals.
Right.
And so they sort of take a look at what happens when you shield the cable and the connector versus what happens when you shield the cable, the connector, and the actual device that you're using. And there is very obvious benefits to doing so. They tried 4 different mouse brands, USB 2.0 wireless mice. And essentially all but one brand essentially would not work, period, without shielding at all after 3 feet. One of them would at 3 feet with some shielding, but for the vast majority, once you get in 6 feet and back, that wireless mouse is not going to work because it's the interference is sitting on the 2.4 gigahertz range.
Right.
So it's sitting right in the middle of the RFID stuff. So all of a sudden, you're going to notice where you're running into it. Okay, I plug in my USB 3 device and my damn mouse doesn't work. My wireless USB peripheral doesn't work. My wireless anything doesn't work.
Because I think after I saw this, I started looking at like this particular diagram in the white paper, right, where you have, this is a motherboard or a laptop or whatever, and you have adjacent ports, a USB 2.0 port and USB 3 port. Here's your cable, and you've got your wireless mouse dongle connected. It looks very familiar if anybody has one of those Logitech adapters. And your wireless mouse, as it moved away from the notebook, and they didn't do like benchmarking or performance testing or anything like that, because USB 3 performance really isn't affected, but you get this interference where you have lagging response on your mice. And we've been having a lot of issues with keyboards here, and I don't know if it was related, but Ken said he saw this exact thing on his computer at home where he had one of those keyboard dongles connected to the front panel on a USB 2.0 port, and then when he plugged in a USB 3 thumb drive, like USB drive, his mouse and keyboard would stop working. Is that right? So, I mean, and here you can see what Jeremy was talking about in terms of the shielding that they tried. Case 1, no shielding. Case 2 shielding the hard drive connector and small PCB area. Case 3, both of that and the body of the hard drive partially shielded. And here it is, completely wrapped and shielded. And these are the difference in the frequency and the power that they're seeing out of it. You can see case 1 with no shielding, you get a huge amount of interference versus what you get down here with like case 3 or 4. So, they're talking about improving shielding on the USB 3.0 connectors. There's a diagram down here about like using a cable, I guess, to move the wireless mouse dongle further away from the USB 3.0 port, and that actually does improve performance. And here,
look, no response. It's not even lagging. There's flat out no response. And if it's they're testing stacked one on top of each other versus off to the side.
Yep.
The problem is just how close that connector is to where you have the dongle, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, even though it's that was like negative 95 dB. It was like even the worst case. But if you have that right next, I mean, it's within like an inch. So. Yeah, that's huge compared to it's trying to listen to something that's 6 feet away.
Sure.
Versus 1 inch away. So the 1 inch away is going to win, even if it's a really weak signal.
Right, and it's just it's not something we've ever really thought about or had to think about before. If you have a USB 3 hard drive permanently plugged into your system, like as an external drive, you may need to change where you plug in that RFID or that RF adapter for your keyboard and mouse. Move it to the front, move it to the back, whichever is the opposite of where it is in the system. And maybe you've bought a new keyboard or two since then, thinking that, or you've replaced the batteries a dozen times, like we have done here in this office, thinking something was going wrong.
Damn, these batteries keep dying.
Yes, man, these batteries really are the worst. I don't get that at all. So yeah, It was an interesting thing that somebody sent me on Twitter, so thanks for that. Well, I'm going to try to write up something real quick about it for tomorrow. But Josh, yes?
No, I'm just yawning, and I didn't mute my
Our discussion of RF frequency interference did not excite you.
I'm not wearing any pants.
Well,
it's a white paper.
That's yeah. Now it's a white.
So his
paper.
dongle has no insulation either.
No.
All right, let's, on that bright and cheery note, we'll take a quick break here to thank, again, our sponsors for the PC Perspective podcast for the umpteenth time. We thank them for it. Here's Alex from MSI.
The all-new Z77 M-Power mainboard from MSI is poised to change the overclocking game. Every Z77 M-Power board will have a factory 24-hour military-class burn-in test completed before shipping. Additionally, performance-optimized features such as Go-To BIOS, Multi-BIOS 2, V-checkpoints, Bluetooth 3.0, and onboard Wi-Fi allow users convenience and total system control over their overclocking and gaming experience. This is the new endurance champion, Z77 M-Power from MSI.
Thank you, Alex. All right, now let's get back to some news and stuff. I threw this in here, Jeremy, because I could tell from just the amount of time you spent on this post that it's something you were interested in discussing. A renaissance of game types that have been sadly missing. Is this an old person rant, though, Jeremy?
Oh, no. It's more along the lines of, a lot of games are pretty much the same nowadays, and two of the bins that have really been missing are proper stealth games. Hey, Dishonored is fun, but it's not one of the games where, you have to be stealthy. There are other ways to get around and kill people or sick rats on them. But we've been seeing a bunch of new things come out for Thief 2. It's called Thief the Dark mod, which actually gives you a really nice ability to keep playing Thief, and there's now community-based add-ons to it. But there's also something called Abduction coming out, which is what Ken was showing there, built on CryEngine 3. And just from looking at it, you can tell that the entire thing is pretty much sort of a stealth. You will die if you decide to attract attention. It's not something that's really been catching on. We've seen some of them, like the original Assassin's Creeds were sort of stealthy. The first one, I guess, definitely would be. You've got the Hitman series, which is coming out. I don't know what Absolution is going to be like. We're going to see that apparently from you fairly soon. But again, it was, stealthy, but it's nice to see true stealth games like Thief, where if you attract the attention of two guards, you are now dead, you might as well load. The second that we're seeing are the space sim games, and not, the rail shooters, the actual good old styles. Chris Roberts, the guy that brought us Wing Commander, is coming back with Squadron 42, the single-player version, or Star Citizen, which is going to be the multiplayer version. He's got not only just a really brilliant-looking idea going, he's actually sort of trying to model this after the fall of Rome. So you've got two main civilizations that used to be together and still sort of are at the same time, but in reality, one is declining, one is gaining in strength. He's talking about the sack of Rome and barbarian invasions, or in this case, aliens coming after Earth. So he's got not just a good space shooter, but an entire overarching story to it that's not going to end up like the Eve, get a lot of money, click faster than everyone else, or bind better keys. Right. Along with that, I threw in a couple that have been around for a while. Wing Commander Saga that we've mentioned before, which is just a redo of before, during, and after Wing Commander 3. Babylon 5, I've found her the only actual Newtonian-based space shooter that I've ever run into, which can be a real pain in the arse to get used to when you've got a kill velocity after you're trying to chase something. Can be a lot of fun. But the big one that actually sort of twigged me to say, we're really seeing some good stuff coming back. There's now a Kickstarter to redo Elite. Now, many people are not going to remember Elite. Many people are not even going to remember the names of the hardware that Elite ran on. This was a game that hated you. If you wanted to dock at a space station, you had to match rotation with it on a wire-framed display. And because we're talking about back then it would have been an 8-bit computer. But they did manage to put 256 planets times 8 galaxies.
Okay.
Procedural generation. It was all done by algorithm as opposed to textures and layers and graphics like we're used to now. So if this guy can actually get it together and slap this onto a 64-bit OS, what he'll be able to do is just going to be obscene. You will lose... World of Warcraft will no longer be what breaks families up. It will be the redo of Elite, if it ever happens. We're not sure it's going to happen. It's been a very long time, and since he was used to working under such great constraints back then and thought, if I only had the tools to do everything I wanted to, I would, but I can't. I'm constrained. At this point, he's not constrained. He can pretty much do whatever he wants, so we may see this in production for, longer than Duke Nukem, with hopefully a better ending.
Oh, no.
Hopefully a much better ending. And also just spotted today, they are definitely going forward with, what was the name of it?
I don't know.
That wonderful little space sim that hardly anyone ever played. Nexus, the Jupiter Incident. They are pretty much going to go forward with the second one of those, which we've been waiting for again for quite a while, and is one of those games where if you want quick reflexes to win fleet battles, go play something else like Homeworld or something. It won't work. This is strategy. This is not tactics. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm betting Josh is thinking he's going to have a lot less free time too if some of these come out.
Yeah, you got to have some free time in the first place. Yeah.
Meh. So, okay, but maybe you're not a big Space Sim fan, or maybe you have less free time. Maybe you're like Josh. One thing you missed out on last week was we did a game stream of the new Medal of Honor Warfighter, in which you could join in live and watch me embarrass myself a little bit and get lost in the single-player campaign of Warfighter, as well as die fairly frequently in the multiplayer campaign as well. Luckily, I was joined by Robert from AMD for a lot of it, so I wasn't completely embarrassed on my own. So that's always a plus. The reason I bring this up, you missed it last week. We also gave away a bunch of stuff. We gave away 18 games. We gave away 5 Never Settle bundles that included Warfighter, Medal of Honor, 20% off, Sleeping Dogs, Hitman Absolution, and Far Cry 3. And then we gave away 5 of each of those 3 games, Far Cry, Hitman, and Sleeping Dogs. So this coming Tuesday, on November the 20th, we're going to do a game stream of Hitman Absolution, which Jeremy was just mentioned in the thing there. And that's a game that you can play either as an action game or as a stealth game, and apparently very well either way. So I'm going to try my hand at that. It is, again, going to be sponsored by AMD, so if you are... We're going to have at least 18 games to give away, the same kind of bundles that we had before, and this time we're going to have graphics cards to give away as well. So you'll definitely want to set your calendar for that. You can look on the homepage at PCPer.com and check to make sure that our schedule matches up with yours. It is November the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We moved a little bit later in the evening so that more people could join us and try to...
Hey, I'll be there.
You'll be there. We had a surprising amount of Europeans during our live stream last time because we did it at 3 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of people were at work. So the Eastern Europeans were dominating the wins for the free game. So make sure you're there. Join us. Tell your friends. All that kind of stuff. Again, it's going to be on November 20th. And win free stuff. So let's talk about other news that happened this week. Apparently, NVIDIA launched a brand new Tesla card, the K20X, and talked about powering the Titan supercomputer. Do we know anything, Josh? Do you know anything about the Tesla K20X? This is the GK110, right?
Yeah, it's the big double precision monster that people were thinking was maybe going to hit the desktop, but so far, no. No,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's a massive chip. I would imagine it's some 500 millimeter square. Yeah, it's a monster card. How many watts do they say that each card is? Something like 300 to 375?
Well, I think that was the AMD card.
That was the AMD. It was 375.
Yeah, I don't see a wattage.
Yeah, it's going to be
TDP on
close
there.
up there because it's what, 2 GK 110s? Or is it just one?
Well, there's two. So the K20X, I think I think it's both single because we're only talking about a difference of 1.31 teraflops peak double precision and 1.17 peak teraflops double precision.
Okay, so yeah, I guess it's both, single cards, and you're going to be, probably then around 225 to 250 watt TDP for such a product. Yeah, I mean, this is what powers the Titan, as well as all the AMD Opteron chips that are running, I believe, 16 cores per chip, and they have something like 200,000 cores of CPUs and some insane number of GPU CUDA cores.
There are 18,688 Tesla K20X GPUs. Those are the GK110s. So there's 18,000 GK110s and 299,008 16-core AMD Opteron 6274 processors. It will consume, it will consume 9 watts of power and is rated at a peak of 27 petaflops.
Yeah, it's
And-
9 megawatts.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
9 megawatts. That's like
Yeah.
3
9
wind
watts.
turbines at full blast.
Nice.
Yeah.
27 petaflops of compute performance. And further, when compared to Sandy Bridge processors, the K20 series offers up to 8.2 and 18.1 times more performance at specific scientific applications, which is obviously why they do it. And that picture, by the way, is very cool. That I think we're going to build one of those here at the office.
Because you have the
soon.
cooling capacity.
I just
yeah. To do that.
I just only run it during the winter. Right?
Well, you can get a pond with a crocodile in it too.
Yeah. What was the cost of this, by the way? It was where was it at? I thought we had a cost on it, like $300 million, something like that, for that supercomputer. Not on the individual card, for the entire Titan supercomputer. I don't know. It's impressive. I don't really. I know people are going to ask, are we going to see this on a desktop part now? And one, I don't think it's necessary yet. GK110 is really necessary. Like GK104 still doing really good in terms of.
Well, plus I think in terms of overall performance, are we really going to see a big jump? Because a lot of the GK110 itself is aimed towards double precision.
Right.
And so, yeah, you've got a wider memory bus. You're going to have more ROPS. But the shaders count is, it's certainly going to be higher, but yeah, it's more aimed towards double precision rather than kind of the speed demon that the GK 104 is. A little bit more focused.
Indeed. And I'll go ahead and skip one of the other stories to move ahead because this seems to make more sense in the flow of things. But AMD also announced a new professional level graphics card. This time they announced the FirePro S10000 because 10,000 is a high
look at all
number.
those zeros.
So 10,000 is
Maybe
a lot of numbers.
are they talking to networking people now?
Yeah. It was the Amped Wireless 20,000G and now the S10000. So the router's probably faster than this,
It's got to be.
just based on the numbers, right? So this card is not a new GPU, but it is a new card, and it's one that also gamers have been interested in. This is a dual Tahiti graphics card. The oft-rumored 7990, even though who is it that sells the 7990 or the Power?
Oh, the Double
Color?
13?
Yeah, Power Color, right?
Yeah.
So they have what they have is the 7990, which has two Tahiti, but it's never been like officially released from AMD as like one of the reference cards. So this card will have 6 gigs of GDDR5 memory, 3584 stream processors, GPU clock speed of 825 megahertz. That's basically 2 of your HD 7970s, clocked a little bit lower. And this is the card that has the 375 watt TDP,
Yep.
which may also explain why we haven't seen this as an official card from AMD, right? That's
Does it have to have an
They kept it
external
in 2
plug-in?
slots, so you can pack them tightly together.
It's the Voodoo 6000 all over again.
yeah, it's. You know what? I don't see a picture of how many PCIe connectors. It's probably 3 8-pin PCI Express power connectors. It's going to be $35.99, which is a lot of money. It's $3,600. But for a professional market, that's not really that stupid expensive. You can look at the NVIDIA K20X listed here for about $3,200. And then, of course, AMD has these specifications where the double precision, you're getting 1.48 teraflops versus 1.31 of GK110. Single precision, a huge jump, 5.91 versus 3.95. But obviously you can see the wattage differences there. Memory bandwidth is nice, but 2 GPUs, slightly cheating on that mark. And AMD is trying to gain ground in this whole FirePro market, and they're trying to go after NVIDIA both in the Tesla side, the Quadro side, and it's a difficult thing because NVIDIA has been well ingrained in this market for some time since the introduction of their CUDA stuff and getting software developers to look at programming stuff specifically for their GPUs. OpenCL now finally starting to hit stride, but NVIDIA has a pretty good head start with the CUDA side stuff. So if you have $3,600 and you can maybe write this off to your boss as some kind of business expense, you could get an AMD dual Tahiti card.
Or
Hey,
you
at
can
least
pay and pick up the pie.
GCN is much more programmable and probably more in line with what NVIDIA has in terms of the ability to program, the ease of use, and as compared to the previous generations of cards. So, yeah, I can see them really trying to make a big push, and certainly the product that they have looks to be pretty good. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to hear what developers have to say, and if they gain any market share whatsoever with these GCN-based products.
Well, and they're not the only ones that came out with awkwardly named high-powered computing cards. We saw a bunch of information on the Xeon Phi, too. Or Pi, depending on how you want to call it.
Hopefully you want to say Phi because it's a PA Phi, right?
The Pi. But I mean, they sort of are coming out with 2 different ones. The 5110P, which is going to be a passively cooled card with 57 of the 62 cores. And from what they're saying, of course, no benchmarks yet. But for double precision, they're talking just over a gigaflop. And interestingly, only 225 watt TDP.
You mean
So
teraflop?
significantly lower than AMD, probably lower than the NVIDIA one.
K20X.
So that'll be interesting. They're also coming out with a 3120A, which is going to be actively cooled. The passively cooled has 60 cores. The actively cooled has 57 cores active, but is slightly higher clocked at just over a gigahertz, and is again just a hair over a gigaflop of double precision.
Do you mean teraflop?
Teraflop.
Yeah. So it's sort of going to be interesting to see if these brand new cards from Intel are going to make people wait to upgrade, or if NVIDIA and AMD are just, because they've been in the market for so long, are they going to be the ones that workstations go to?
It's all about the program model, right? It's all about is it going to be
The API?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all going to be, is it easier to program for OpenCL and access AMD cards and NVIDIA cards? Is it easier to program for CUDA and access only NVIDIA cards? Are you going to be able to access the 60 cores of x86 power that Intel's providing in a similar fashion that you can with the GPUs? Intel obviously has a lot of muscle. They have a lot of weight to throw around in software development side of things as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if their compilers are able to extract the parallelism out of this code, and actually, if they can get to that teraflop compute horsepower, they may start to eat away at NVIDIA's kind of dominance in this field as well. So I don't know. Josh, any other thoughts? Anybody? Alan? Anybody?
Well, the Intel thing is interesting because x86 is so well known, and they write their own compilers, and all they do is add the vector extensions on there to get the higher performance floating point out of that. So, yeah, they do have a leg up just because the software environment, or rather ecosystem, is pretty mature for at least x86, and multi-core is nothing new for Intel. But go ahead, Alan.
This is considered Haswell or beyond, right? That we're talking?
No, this is
on the Intel side.
This is their MIC.
It's totally not Larrabee.
Right. That's exactly what it is. It's old Pentium cores with newly attached vector processing units put together in a vast array of cores. MIC, meaning integrated cores, is kind of the direction they're calling it.
Yeah, so that's different than what I was thinking. I was thinking because in terms of multi-CPU core computing, you can't scale too much further until you get into like Haswell territory, because that's where they introduce the extra instruction set so that it doesn't keep memory locked for each core, that sort of stuff. But this is different.
Yeah, I don't know if it integrates that's or not.
It wouldn't be. It would be the graphical equivalent of that, I'm sure.
Gotcha. Other news, apparently this was breaking on November 12th. Steven Sinofsky left Microsoft immediately. And if you are wondering who that is, I was when I first saw this news post. I apparently did not know that this was the guy responsible for
Metro. It's all his fault.
Yeah, they replaced him with Ribbon Lady, though.
Oh, well then that means that when you hit start, just a ribbon will come down from the top.
As you can see, we are big fans of all the new Microsoft user interface innovations. So Steven Sinofsky apparently was the guy who came up with the idea for Metro, the start menu, the tiles, the multicolored, the animations, all the stuff that Jeremy loves about Windows 8. Oh, yeah. And he, 15 days after the release of Windows 8, is gone from the company. And that obviously means that there's a lot of rumors going around about if the backlash about the start menu, or the lack of a start menu that people are used to, that the decision as a company to make it all one interface across all devices, phones, tablets, notebooks, desktops, was a huge mistake, and if maybe they're starting to realize that, or is it just a coincidence that he's leaving? It's probably not a coincidence.
No.
Well, I think it was because I heard a rumor that Clippy 2.0 was his baby. And they decided to shoot it all.
Get rid of it all. Get rid of it all. Jeremy, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the most compelling argument I've heard was that one of the basic ideas originally with Windows 8 was that the API would remain the same across every single type of Windows 8 that are coming out. Mm-hmm. And sort of what we've ended up with is a mishmash of, yeah, it might run, it might not. It'll definitely run on our WinRT, but you might not want to try and run it on the desktop portion of the full x86 version of Win8 versus trying to get old x80 stuff 6 to run on the RT. There is no, direct translation between them. Programmers are stuck where they were before, where they're just learning umpteen billion different frickin' things. And so that was one of his jobs that he was assigned to do, was make sure this has got pretty much a singular API. People can just program once and it will run anywhere. Now we've got program many times and hope like hell it runs, just like every other version of Windows.
So yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to Ken earlier today. I was flying back from Atlanta this morning, and on the front page of the money section of the USA Today was a story about Steven Sinofsky leaving the company, and this title for the story was, "Does this mark the return of the start menu?" Like somehow they're going to fire him, and next week they're going to put a patch out for all desktop versions of Windows 8. It's like, guys, we were just kidding, guys. That asshole.
I've noticed you've uninstalled Steven. Would you like to install the start menu?
Says Clippy.
Yeah. But then, interestingly, you mentioned that, Jeremy, about the ribbon lady, because the last line of that USA Today story was that, but don't expect much because the person they were replaced with was also one of the driving factors behind the Metro interface as well.
Yep.
So, you don't.
But she's cuter than Steven.
Yeah,
I think by
I
default.
would hope so.
Speaking
And I'm sure Apple's sharpening its lawyers as we speak.
Speaking of adorable people, here is a picture of Rory from AMD. Yeah?
I
Jeremy?
can't put my finger on who he reminds me of, but it's... I don't know.
I don't know.
He's insane.
But apparently, there are rumors going around that AMD has hired JP Morgan to maybe explore some sales opportunities of itself. But there was apparently was this an official statement from AMD about that's not the case? Because you always believe official statements.
Oh, of course, absolutely. Companies never disambiguate. But essentially, yeah, they came out and said AMD is not actively pursuing a sale of the company or significant assets at this time. They don't say anything about, we're sniffing around JP Morgan to see if we can do some creative accounting to maybe try and make our shareholders a little happier with us in the near future. Be that some sort of a weird change to licensing agreements, selling out, something that they own that they feel they can afford to lose, splitting stocks to try and generate revenue that way. I mean, one of the things JP Morgan does is sort of make money out of nothing, as long as you look like you can back it up. And right now AMD is probably desperately trying to make their stockholders stop jumping ship.
Josh, any thoughts?
Well, it's going to be interesting. AMD is in a tight spot, obviously. Windows 8 is not driving sales like Intel and AMD and others were hoping. ARM is becoming more and more prevalent in tablets and notebooks. And with Windows RT, kind of gaining steam, I think a lot of people are just kind of sitting around waiting because, one, they like Windows 7. Two, they've got hardware that runs pretty much everything that they need. And three, who in the hell has money to spend at this time? So AMD's in kind of big trouble because they don't have an effective mobile part that will fit into the areas that are actually selling products now, like ARM has with cell phones and all these lovely new cell phones like the Galaxy S3, the iPhone 5, the latest Nexus, the latest HTCs, all of these things are flying off the shelves, and people are not spending money on this guy, Mr. Rory Reid.
Sorry, that was... I don't know.
But yeah, it's... I'm not saying that things are looking grim for AMD, but things are not looking great for them. PileDriver is not as effective as perhaps people were hoping. It's an improvement, but it's not night and day as some people were expecting. It's cut down the lead from Intel, but they're still running at higher power. They've got a bigger manufacturing process, 32 nanometer versus 22 nanometer, and so this makes a lot of sense that they're saying, hey, what can we do for the short term? Is there something that we can license out, get royalties from, deal with people that we never had thought to make agreements with, just so we can have some income coming in the short term so that we can survive and hopefully get into the mobile space bigger. Wait until Global Foundries and other foundries like TSMC are able to more adequately catch up with Intel in terms of their process technology. So I mean, there's so many factors, and at least they're being proactive and looking. I don't think they're going to be sold anytime soon. I'm not entirely sure who would buy them. People say like Samsung, maybe Qualcomm, but AMD's still worth a lot of money. It's just going to be, it would be hard. I mean, the legal ramifications of the x86 license are large as well, and the only thing that's really producing good money for AMD at this time are their graphics group, and they certainly do not want to sell that off.
Yeah, that
would make no sense whatsoever.
That's innovating and changing. All right, so we will follow that and the kind of spiral that AMD is in. Now, I know we talked earlier about this, but Jeremy, if you are a fan of ECS and the color of gold, apparently there's another board coming out soon, or that is out now, that people might be interested, right?
Yeah, not as much gold, but much more Thunderbolt.
Right, at least 100%.
The Z77H2 A5X Deluxe. It is, as you would assume, a Z77 board. It's part of their Black series, in this case the Black Deluxe series, and it is aimed, at fairly high-level usage. They tout it as capable of three-way NVIDIA SLI or ATX Crossfire. From reading the fine print, it looks like they slapped the NVIDIA MCP on it to do so, but after looking across the board, I saw neither NVIDIA or Lucid Logic's branding, but I did see a big arse heatsink towards the south, which makes me think the NVIDIA solution. It's got voltage meter or voltage contact points directly on the board, so you can check for overclocking. Solid-state capacitors, which are going to give you a lot more lifetime, and super alloy chokes, significant increases to what the LAN can do, a lot of nice little tweaking, and of course the big thing with this one is Thunderbolt support. So there's one port, it'll support up to 6 devices, and you can slap a monitor at the very end of that if you so desire. So you can actually get, even just with a basic chip in this, quite a few different outputs going. It looks like it's going to be, a relatively high-end board. Of course, anything that's got Thunderbolt on it is going to be expensive. So, you might sort of worry about picking this up. But on the other hand, if you're looking at a high-end board, and ECS's chances are they're going to be a little bit less expensive than the Asus, the Gigabyte. So it's certainly worth keeping an eye out. I haven't actually seen it for sale yet, but once we do, we'll be able to let you know exactly what the price is and how it compares to the others. So, not bad, and it's really nice to sort of see a little more Thunderbolt coming to the PC market, isn't it?
And speaking of which, we actually just got this in. I think it came in while I was out of town. So this is a board from MSI that I think is it for sale already? I think it's already for sale. This is Z77A G45. And this also, you really can't see it very well here, but has a single Thunderbolt port on it. We did a review of the MSI GD80 board that had a Thunderbolt port. And here's the secret. This board is almost identical. It's the same PCB as the GD80. It's missing some features. It doesn't have the V-check points for overclocking purposes. It doesn't have OC Genie, which is crazy to me. Man, signature feature gone. But it has SLI and Crossfire, and it has Thunderbolt. And this is probably going to be the least expensive option. What is this, $145?
Wow.
$160. And for sale right now. So you can get a Z77 board, the Z77A G45 Thunderbolt from MSI. And like I said, we just got this in, so we'll be running some testing on it. But I expect it will perform as you would see any motherboard to perform. And then the Thunderbolt, as long as it works and it performs up to the speeds that we're used to, this will be like your lowest cost point of entry into Thunderbolt, right? Alan, how much you have that Asus Pro Thunderbolt?
Yeah, it's the Pro/Thunderbolt one.
How much is that? How much is that? Do you have any
It's-
idea?
It's not as much as the premium. I think it's like high 200s, mid 200s.
But still, that's
like
still pretty high.
It's up there. Yeah. Anytime you go to the Thunderbolt thing, there's a decent chunk right now.
Right, unless you get this $160 G45 board, which is cool, right? So I mean, you're gonna get all the Z77 features you want, SLI, Crossfire, that kind of stuff, and I'm imagining it's gonna be it's a decent overclocker. Can't believe they don't have the OCG.
But one feature I did forget to mention: does Thor protect it from dust?
Thor,
So the ECS has the Thor Ultra Protection for electrostatic protection.
Come again?
what? What is
I'm
Thor?
s- That's what they call it. Is
Wouldn't
Thor
you be
Ultra
afraid
Protection?
of Thor electrocuting your devices?
No,
Hitting it
for
with a hammer, maybe?
attracting dust.
I don't. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
They even have a
Okay.
picture.
Sweet.
I'm looking at my motherboard right now through the window on my case, and like the one thing that's not particularly dusty is the motherboard
Oh, sorry,
itself.
it's a movie. There you go, Ken.
Like all the other stuff in my case is dusty as heck, but the motherboard is not, since it's the thing that sits this way, vertical. It doesn't get very dusty.
Huh. All right. Let me click on Jeremy's video link here. Hold on.
I thought it was just the picture, but no, apparently it's a movie.
Whoa! Why was there so much? There's
Yeah,
no way.
good question, eh?
Hang on, guys. Here we go.
Ooh, look at that nice logo.
Listen.
There's actually a family of funnel webs living in there, and Thor is smacking them
Yeah,
on one.
let's just go
This is
fast
boring.
forward or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's a motherboard.
Anti-dust shield.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
Look at those
There's dust shields. Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
my
simulating.
God.
Well,
Yes. So
Oh.
okay. So if you were to pour
If you pour drywall dust into your
straight into your
computer-
fan,
that's not drywall dust.
Okay, yeah, I can see that's a problem.
oh,
yeah.
yeah, it's because you.
That's
So
your dog right there, man.
See, now this is a motherboard with the Thor.
Wait a minute. All it is a couple of pieces of.
It's just
It's just a little tray.
Oh, dear Lord.
so all the dust
make-
instead bottles up inside that little area. Like I
It's
don't-
going everywhere else on the board. It just doesn't hit the PCI. Okay. Oh my god.
so it.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh,
Oh.
Double defense guard.
Oh wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's. It's like the
I'm
most
gonna get some
gimmicky thing I've
tinfoil
ever
and-
seen in my life.
You
So,
cut me off
okay,
before I
here we
got to
go,
that,
here we
Ryan,
go.
but there was no way I was leaving that out.
Side by
That's the killer.
side. Look at
That's
that
the killer
difference.
nick of motherboard mods right there. That's,
But look, the memory slots in your pegs are clean.
oh. Wow. You know, okay, so you know what's really funny?
The worst thing is I see motherboards that look like that. Oh no, that's the saddest thing right there.
Yeah, look at how he needs a dust shield on his it would sit on his collar and it would just stop the dust from going down onto his shirt.
Oh. Oh.
So here's what's hilarious. Here's what's hilarious. Somebody buys that, right? And they have one of those cases that the motherboard's inverted in,
No.
right? And now you have this dust shield stopping the dust from going from the PCI slots onto the CPU. Backwards.
I want to see. I'm going to make my own video with the Asus Z77 Sabertooth that has the covers in the PCI slots. It's like, if I pour mud on this motherboard, it doesn't get in the PCI Express slot.
yeah, we saran wrap our motherboards. It doesn't do good for heat or plugging anything else in.
Oh my
Damn it, you're
God.
protected.
Okay, and on that incredibly humorous note, let's move on to hardware software picks of the week. We got in 3 new coolers from Corsair this week. We got in the H100i, the H80i, and the new H60. Now, besides the cool silver box, as opposed to the black box that they all came in before, this is not an i-series. It doesn't have the new features that came along with that. 2 cool things that come with the H60. Now you get a Ken, help me out here. What's the model of this fan? SP1200 fan. So this is their quiet series of fan.
Yeah, it's the high static pressure ones I was looking at.
Yeah. So these are nice. These are nice fans, nicer than the ones that we have with our other coolers that tend to be a little bit on the loud side. And then the other kind of interesting feature to the H60 that's new is that they've changed. Let me go ahead and take this sleeve off. It's still a 120 millimeter radiator, and you still have the kind of pump water block all in one thing. But what's new is the bracket for it has a magnetic clip to it. So now imagine, and I'm going to try to do this without breaking my laptop or anything. If you're mounting this into your case like so, one of the things that has been annoying for us in the past is kind of like holding the bracket down while getting those first screws in place. Well, now this is a metal bracket, and there's magnets on two sides of the thing here, and
How do they work?
they just attach to things. So you remove that. And
Well, Jeremy, the magnetic domain
so
is aligned.
now the magnet is holding the bracket on, so you don't have to worry about the kind of mounting bracket coming off while we're trying to do installation. Also, the tubes are a little bit thicker, which is what she said, and they're a little bit more flexible. They don't have that rigid plastic to them. They're a little bit more malleable now. So, and it's a little bit lower profile, which I'm a fan of as well. So, we're going to try to do a little quick roundup of the three new coolers and see what makes them tick and what makes them different. But the only thing I would say not a high side for this is the price. It is $75, and it is labeled as the new 2013 edition with quieter SP120L fan.
That is nice that it comes with that fan, because that would match, the series, assuming you're going with their fans for the rest of your case, right?
Yeah, that way you don't have to buy an extra one or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's rated at, what's it say here, 30.85 dBA. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, who's next? Jeremy, what do you got?
Well, and I think I'm semi-cheating in that I think I brought up the original one a long time ago. But someone put together another Pip-Boy, except this one you can actually wear. Now, it's not completely and totally fully functional. In fact, what he's done is taken a digital picture frame, put a magnifier glass over top of it so that it's got that nice retro rounded look to it, and just got a couple of stills from the game. They're controlled by the various switches and buttons on it, and you can also bounce through the various buttons below, the three iconic sort of orange ones. There was another one that someone had built out of, I believe it was a Galaxy S3, but it was fully functional, completely, it was an HTC Desire HD. It was, on the other hand, completely functional in that you could build your own character on it. But with all the controls in the back, you couldn't actually wear it. So regardless of which, you've got quite a while until next Halloween, so if you want to go out with a Pip-Boy, take your pick, or slap an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi or something together and make it both workable and wearable.
Yeah, don't be such a loser. If you're going to do it right. I'm just kidding. Do you have another pick on here as well?
No, it was just form over function or function over form.
The other link was this one. I see. Okay. That's what
the fully functional but not really wearable.
Gotcha. So you can just hold that one when you walk around.
Which is not a Pip-Boy.
Josh?
Me. This is not a hardware software pick of the week, but it's a pick and something that I did want to pass on to you guys. You may or may not know, I've adopted 2 children from China, and we were very, very good friends with a family down in Colorado Springs that we've known for years and years. Well, 1.5 years ago, they were caught in a flash flood, and the guy's wife and 3 children were all drowned and killed, and he was able to survive somehow. And so he created a foundation in memory of them, and it is for the purposes of international adoption, and for people who may not be able to afford or fully afford these adoptions, they are able to raise money and get them some extra help so we can keep this going. So this is something that I've been hoping to get to you guys, and it kind of means quite a bit to myself, my family, and certainly to my friend Dr. Alex Constantinidis. So if you have the ability to give, that would be awesome if you were able to help these folks out and with the very worthy cause of international adoption.
And what's the URL again for people who may just be listening?
It is laurelsmessage.org. So LAURELS message.org.
All right, very cool. All right, Alan, you have to follow that up.
Tough. Okay, back to tech stuff. All right, so this company Armor Suit makes these pretty cool skin type shields. Usually, I guess they used to make like just screen protectors, and then they expanded into having like these stick-on type shield things for anything like phones and
PS Vitas.
Yeah, PS Vitas and like some gaming console, but mostly it's phones and tablets. But it's cool because so you have this gel-ish sort of just screen protector thing you could put on your device. One of those typical ones. But the ones that aren't, they're not hard plastic. They're sort of like memory plastic that self-heals a little bit, that kind of thing. So it can kind of take a pretty good beating and doesn't really get scratched. But the cool part is they have these skins for the back as well, and they make them in clear and carbon fiber. And the carbon fiber skin is it's really it's pretty realistic looking, and it's pretty durable. And the fit is perfect.
I hate applying those damn things.
It's okay, so here's the secret with applying those. I might as well just tell everybody. So they give you the spray stuff with these, which is good because it's one of the first companies I've seen that gives you the spray, the soapy kind of spray solution to put the actual screen protector on. And that's a trick that people that tint windows has used for years.
Oh, yeah,
and any screen protector I've ever put on, basically you take, if nobody gives you a solution with theirs and it's a clear screen protector, you take an empty Windex bottle, rinse it out real well, get distilled water, don't use just tap water, and put the smallest half a drop of dishwashing soap into the whole full bottle. Right, so you want it to barely have any kind of break the surface tension. That's all you're going for.
Sure.
You're not going for really soapy water. And you just spray that all over the glass surface and all over the back of whatever the screen protector is. And then you lay it on there and you just squeegee all the water out. And
can I dip the device into the pool of water?
Yeah, let's not do that.
PCS has a protection measure for that.
Now here's the thing. Now, our Armor Suit, in instructions, they say, do not spray the soapy stuff on the skin for the back. And they're right, because the skin for the back is basically just sort of tacky adhesive stuff, not like regular screen protector. But you can still use the trick where you just use the water that just has the tiniest bit of soap in it. You just have to make your own solution, basically. Don't use theirs for that. But so I used my own stuff and I sprayed it on the back of the iPad that I put this thing on, and it still let me slide it around. So I was able to lay it down and slide it around and make sure the positioning was good. And then I basically just did the same kind of thing, squeegee the water out. And the more water you squeegee out, it starts to get stickier and stickier. So, and they make them for everything. That's what we're showing on the stream. I think that's the one for the iPhone 5.
Yeah. Is this? It also has it for the.
It goes around the edge, everything,
Wow.
and
No.
the way they did the cuts, it might be kind of hard to see on the stream. But the way they did the cuts is let's see if it'll focus.
Move your face out of the way.
Move your face.
That wasn't about the phone. That was just a general comment.
I don't know.
It's all right.
It basically it sort of wraps around. It's cut in such a way where you have to use a hair dryer to get it to make some of the bend, but there's actually a seam. And so the back piece only bends around halfway, and then there's a seam that wraps around the other way, and it just sort of completes the curve. And there's just the hairest thin of a gap,
Right.
and what's protecting it. So it's protecting the whole thing. It's
Sure.
front and back. That's it. It's covered, and it adds some texture
Does
to
it
the
make
back.
Does it make the glass not break?
No, I mean if you drop it, it's probably gonna. It's probably less likely because it is a little bit of a spongy material, but. You drop it hard enough, it's probably still going to happen. But it's, it keeps the thing thin though, right? It's not like this gummy.
Oh, I agree. I like that part of it. Yeah.
That's the good part. It doesn't add any thickness to it. So it's cool.
Cool
stuff. Yeah, I'm going to put one on the phone too. And
ArmorSuit.com. ArmorSuit
Yep, and they have the backs in clear and the carbon look. So if you want the thing to look like there's nothing on it, you can just put the clear one on.
Cool. All right. Well, that is it. That's everybody. We are wrapping up the show. We didn't make it very much shorter, guys. I'm just putting that out there.
We never do.
Here. Even the weeks where I say, man, we got nothing to talk about. This is going to be like a 40-minute show. Not so much.
Say that every week.
Well,
1 hour later.
It's all wishful thinking. So yeah, if you guys want to watch us record this live, sometimes we play games. We're probably going to play a game after this podcast. Please join us, pcper.com/live. Tell your friends to join us at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays. We will not be recording a podcast next Wednesday. Just a heads up, because people will be traveling for Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff, so we will not have a podcast next week. Ken will make a best of podcast for next week, I'm sure. He kind of laughed. That would just be every podcast. We'll just make one audio file that is 200
all of them
episodes in a row and upload that to Amazon and see how many people download it.
Make it 200 times speed so it plays through the same length as one.
Wow. Okay. That wouldn't work at all.
Sure.
All right. So PCPer.com/live is where you can watch us. PCPer.com/podcast is where you can go to find links to the RSS feed, to the iTunes links, the direct MP3 download. And YouTube.com/PCPer is where you can go if you want to get the videos of previous episodes. Subscribe to that, and you'll see every Thursday when we get that video up and posted. So I guess that's all the house cleaning I have. Don't forget to join us on Tuesday, November the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern at this same location, PCPer.com/live. We're going to do some Hitman Absolution game stream fun, including giving away graphics cards and lots of games. So be sure to join us for that. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malventano.
Thanks, guys.